Welcome everybody to the Bird's Eye View. I'm here with, of course, Mr. Crow.
Hello, good to see you.
And happy Veterans Day, everyone. If you're a veteran, thank you for your service, your sacrifice. If you're not a veteran, then find a veteran and thank them, even though they'll probably say they didn't do it for thanks, but that's just the way they are. So we've been coming across these. Well, we're kind of continue on with Veterans Week, but one of the things that we came across was the changing of. I don't know if it's the face of the military or the changing of the style of the military or just flat the changing of the military, like where it's headed from where it was.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're trying to change the value, maybe. Like they are trying to change the future, like trying to make it more.
So it's funny because World War II people, that generation, were considered the toughest generation ever.
Yeah.
And then since their sacrifices, we've continually gotten softer and softer and softer as people. So we came across this video of a comparison of a Russian recruitment ad versus the US Army recruitment ad. And war is a hard, difficult thing.
Correct. And
you know what? I'm just going to show you the video and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay. Because I think this video just speaks volumes of what it is. So don't worry if you can't understand the Russian. You'll get the point just by the video. All right, so here we go.
Твоей новой жизни. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сумел знать себя? Познать границы своих возможностей? К черту границы, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это задача выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он.
It begins in California,
this is the Army one,
with a little girl raised by two moms. I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. To marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and after meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength. I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my calling.
Okay. So... Okay, so from that, let's say you're not a veteran, you've never been in the military, and you're a teen that wants to fight for their country. What video gives you that I'm ready to die for my country aspect, right? Like...
Well, that's the thing too, is I think the Russian video hits just that. It makes it feel like you're the soldier. You're out there, you're doing this and you're doing it for your country. It's not about just you, if I will. However, the Army, it makes it feel like it's just you. He'll hit you in the feel goods.
and let's get another thing straight is I'm Army Corporal blah blah blah. You're an E4. You're not even a non-commissioned officer. You are not telling anybody what to do. You are not making that much of a difference right now. You are go dig a hole. Yes, Sergeant, whatever, Sergeant, Roger, Sergeant, yeah. Right. So that whole she's making a difference. Okay, whatever. In her mind, if that's the way she feels, sure. Okay. So I give her props for serving, but let's not try to make her out as the Russian badass that's out there jumping out of planes and laying in the snow and shooting guns and stuff, right? Because One is looks at a very hard aspect of the U.S. military. You're there to fight.
Yeah.
The other one is let's get along and hang out at home, and yeah, it's just a regular 9-to-5 job. That's kind of the perception that they're putting off, and that's not the case. Like, and here comes the problem with that is the people that you get from the Russian video understand and are seeking that aspect of it. The people you get from the other video are the people that get out with post-traumatic stress that can't handle the outside world because they had no clue not only what they were getting into, they were prepared mentally before they ever even started in the military. And then those are the people that aren't okay with what happened or whatever they saw when they were sent over. And those are the people that end up unfunctional,
really messed up,
homeless, like we talked about on another video, and are incapable of handling themselves. Not that lady specifically. I'm talking about the type of people that are attracted to whatever video you just watched.
Yeah, true. I understand. And I feel I agree with that.
Now, to contrast this even more is now we came across these articles that are talking about the Marines shifting away from a replaceable force to a more long-term professional military.
Mm-hmm.
And, before, the old, there's that old thing that the people always made about, anybody can join the Marines, right? Like, they'll take anybody.
Yeah. You're kind of like,
used to be true at some point. Didn't matter if you were a criminal or whatever, like, they would take you.
Yep.
Now though, they are shifting themselves because part of this was they want
well, you
to,
mentioned
they want to
you even mentioned oh sorry, go ahead.
They want to downsize to 174,000 Marines by 2030. So Army is recruiting soft folks in their Army, and the Marines are downsizing to 174,000 troops. That's crazy.
That doesn't seem like a lot, but yeah.
That is definitely not a lot.
No.
Now let's not get this too twisted because the Marines are not the Army. Their job is completely different than what the Army's job is. Yeah, but still, right. 174,000 seems like an awfully small number.
It does when you think about things. Yeah, that's a small number of an elite group. I mean, you almost say that's pretty small. That's a lot of competition too. I mean, they're going to become specialists.
Well, and that's kind of, the thing is they are talking about, really being selective when they initially recruit somebody. No more of this, I just want to go in the Marines because I want to go in. It's, okay, are you going to be an effective Marine? So they're going to do some different kind of tests to see if you would be an effective Marine on top of that. What skills are you bringing to the table? What job would fit you the best? And what is your long-term goal? If your long-term goal is just to go in for a couple years and get out, that might not be a thing that they're taking anymore. If you're not going in saying, hey, I want to be a lifer, they may cut you right there. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work, but
this is bringing up a thing that I've dealt with in the industry of businesses where I work too, where my grandpa, he used to work and he was a lifer for that company, And now I've got my younger kids, the 20 and 22, and they're quick. They're like, this isn't working out for me. I'm ready to quit. And I'm like, well, wait, you've only been there for 2 years. What are you getting from this? What have you built there? And it seems like they're trying to get kind of back, like the Marines are bringing that back.
But those are two very different things, though. Because one, you're
it's a
talking
mentality, though.
I don't. Because one, you're talking about the Marines as a business, right?
Mhm.
Wanting to keep people.
Correct.
Versus current private
People.
businesses. No, see that you can't do that.
No. I'm just
You can't cross the line go from a business to people because
no. I thought that's where you're going to because the attitude of people to business and business, the mentality is still the same. I know people.
Okay, so let me. I like this argument, but let me back up here.
Let's
okay.
do this.
So what the Marines are trying to say is, if you join the Marines, we're going to do everything in our power to keep you forever, and you can work up from private all the way to the highest rank that you can achieve, and we're going to keep you in your for long term, right? Okay.
I get that. That's what they want to do. That's what they're starting to do.
Businesses nowadays are completely the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be like your grandfather and like some other people, you could start in the mailroom and work your way up to CEO.
Correct.
Now it is not like that.
No.
Now the business says, man, we got this guy that's been here for 18 years. He's 2 years till his retirement, but he makes more than Joe Schmo does because Joe Schmo's new. So we're going to fire that guy and he doesn't get his retirement.
Yep. We do have that mentality.
There is no longer loyalty in private businesses anymore. If you are causing them too much of a problem, see, this is cancel culture at its finest. If you are causing too much of a problem or you say the wrong thing, you are gone. We don't care about you. The Marines are saying, we're going to invest in these people, and if you make a mistake, we're going to help you and bring you along because we want you to stay in long term.
See, and that's how businesses used to be.
Right.
And I think it's switched. It has switched. But now, because of that, people's mentality have also switched the same way. They've gone with it. I'm replaced. I can be replaced. I'm not going to be loyal. Well, and I think that has carried over with the mentality of and I think the Marines are taking it on, right? But I think that was carried over where there was people who just went into the services for college, and that was it.
Okay, so that's another aspect. Is before you had 3 or 4 types of people that go into the military, right? Okay. You had I want to see the world, and I want to see wherever this goes. So they just go in for no real plan to go and do something with life.
It was just the next step. Yep.
Right. You have the people that are like, I'm going in here just for the college money, and then I'm getting out.
Yep.
You had the people that I don't have a choice in the matter. Either I got in trouble and I have to go in, or my life is so bad that this is the only escape for me.
Yeah.
And then you had the I want to be a lifer. And that's where, like, I think, and that was always the case, because before it's like you needed a massive force, right? Because here's the reality of it is you take 10 people in the military, 4 are dropping out before they ever even get through the initial training.
Yep.
Another 2 can't get a security clearance. And of those 4 that make it, only 2 of those 4 have enough gumption to really progress up the ranks.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation.
Yep.
So, but the people that were in, right, you need that whole rank aspect from the dedicated leader that's been in for a long time that has all that experience, to the new leaders learning that experience, to the soldiers learning from those people that are learning to get up there, right? And then you just need soldiers to do the stuff.
You need grunt.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you shrink that military down, now all of a sudden, you know, you don't have those people that are just in for college,
Yeah.
right? Because you know they ain't staying. And so why invest hundreds of thousands of dollars and hours and hours and hours of training those people when they're gone?
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that part though.
But
as like I said, in being in some of my positions as in the businesses, I wouldn't invest in people who didn't seem like they were committed.
But here's also what happens in that is you have to be very careful, because I know when I went in back in '96, I ran into some sergeants, some E5 sergeant. Okay, let's get one thing. I made E5 in 2.5 years, right? I made sergeant in 2.5 years. When I got in and I was a private and I got to my home duty station, I ran into E5 sergeants that were 15, 16, 18 years in. And I'm like, how much of a shitbag are you that you can't, right? Like, if I'm doing this in 2.5 years, I can make E6 in another 2 years, 1 or 2 years. In fact, I was in for 4 years, and when I was in Bosnia, deployed in Bosnia, they were pushing me to go to the board for E6. So I would have made E6 inside of 5 years. This guy was E5 at 15, 18 years. I'm like, dude.
It's a long progression. Yeah.
Well, it's
were
like,
they really
it's
dedicated?
Like, how did you get to E5 for one? And then how much of a shitbag are you that you could never do anything else? Right?
Yeah.
But you're my sergeant. You're leading me. I'm supposed to follow you and do what you say, knowing full well that you're just a dirtbag. Right? That's like the very difficult part of this, what the Marines are going to be trying to do and make long-term military a thing. Because you pack up the ranks with long-term folks, and if you're in for 10 years, you can't get that next position because that guy's still in for 17, right?
Because it's true.
And so it comes this backlog of people being stationary in their position for a long term. All right, so it's not a bad thing if you find a way to balance it. It's just a very difficult thing. But the Marines are, no longer if you have any arrest backgrounds or, domestic abuse backgrounds, any of that, you're no longer getting in the Marine Corps now.
Yeah.
That's gone.
I thought that was pretty impressive. Yeah, it's no longer just anybody. Like, you're not, if you couldn't deal with it in the civil ward or civil world, I guess, it's sorry.
Yeah. So in addition to increased testing, because they want to find good fits for the military, the Corps said it will be stringent with waivers related to criminal activity. So sexual assault, sexual-related crimes, domestic violence,
was another
hate
one.
crimes. Those are automatically off the board now. Like, if you have any of those, you are not getting in. Before, you had a very thin rope where you could get in, but any infraction and you were gone. Now they're just not even doing it, which is not a bad thing. It's really not. Like, especially those offenses right there, like, you probably shouldn't be in anyway. And I know, like, the Army had this thing for, I don't know, I know when I was in somewhere around the 2000s area time frame right there, they had this thing where if you had been convicted of a domestic violence case, that you were no longer able to carry a gun. Well, if you couldn't carry a gun, then how could you have a gun in the military? Like, how could you carry a gun, right? And so there was this, and I don't remember, like, if they were kicking people out or what they were doing, but I remember it was a big deal, but I wasn't in any leadership position at the time high enough, even as a sergeant, that it was really a thing that I was dealing with, right? That we were talking way higher level than that. But I remember it was like a huge topic and a huge thing, and like there was some time frame where I know that soldiers I'd see them out in the field and they didn't have any weapons, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like,
what's your purpose? You like, my shield or what?
Yeah, like, it was just kind of weird, but people are so close quarters, and when you're out and about and stuff, you have to be able to trust the next person next to you. And I don't have any problem with domestic abuse people, or especially sexual assault people, not being allowed in the military, period. Because with the military transitioning or transitioned into a co-ed army, right, you can't have that. You just can't.
That's tough. Yep.
You can't have that mentality or that lack of trust or anything like that in there. It just can't be there. So that should have happened a long time ago anyway, before they were shrinking the military. But sometimes you just need bodies for bodies. You know, when I went into 96, the MOS that I went into was an emergency MOS where I scored high enough that I could have chose anything I wanted, from military intelligence to on down. But I specifically wanted a combat job, and the 13 Fox Forward Observer, you know, you're in a small team out on your own, and you know, out adjacent to the main force, beyond the front lines, looking for targets of opportunity or things like that, you know, very much sounded right up my alley. And I was like, I'm going there, right? And so that's what I did. And so having a super small team, right? They were like, here's a bonus, you get choice of station, you can do whatever you want, because they didn't have enough people to fill it.
Oh, dang.
Right?
So you got...
So I got all these choices.
You got you got rewards for it. That's pretty cool.
In a smaller, more specific military, you don't, like, you go in, they're like, we're going to tell you what you're going to do.
Right?
That's
true. This is where we see you fit. This is where you're going to go.
We did all these personality tests. We did all these skill tests. This is what you're suited for. This is where we think you'll be happy. This is what you're going to do.
Do you think it might also be changing a little bit because the way I don't know how to say it, the way we battle is different? It's not hand to hand, gun to gun quite as much as it used to be, right? It's turned into drones and
absolutely wrong.
No?
So yes and no. So here's the thing: is when we went into when we went after Saddam, right? That was the first large scale tank military vehicle battle since World War II.
Okay.
I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that was the biggest one since World War II or so. That's how we had normally trained to fight, right? Here's the line. Everybody on that side's the enemy. Everybody on this side isn't. We going that way and we're destroying whatever's in front of us. Immediately after that, the battlefield completely changed. It changed to urban combat, battling inside cities, where it is very much man-to-man, kicking indoors, hand-to-hand, close-quarter combat.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Because you can't take vehicles in there and stuff. Now, the whole drone stuff that's coming, that's like this fringe stuff, right? Well, so, okay, wait. So you have the drones that do strikes, okay?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a specific target. That's not a full-scale battle thing. They didn't use a lot of that when we were going across into, defeating tanks in Afghanistan or wherever Desert Storm was, right?
Yeah.
That whole Saudi Arabia area. The drones weren't a part of that. They weren't a big part of that. They might have been in there, I don't know, but it was a very much vehicle lined up. We're killing tanks and we're rolling across and we're taking territory.
Yeah.
But when you go into like things like Afghanistan, where it's more of a celled terrorist type of things, you don't know where the enemy is. You cross into a city and there's people behind you that are your enemy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Right. And I think so part of what it is our current political situation. We are in a current political situation where our president is supremely weak idealed and doesn't have the guts to follow through with anything. We're in a situation where they think the American public doesn't have the stomach to stand up and fight for what they need. Sorry to turn this political, but this is kind of where it is, right? Is pulling out of Afghanistan the way they pulled out, leaving hundreds of Americans or sympathizers or green card holders there and just saying, oh, we're done, go ahead, Taliban, take back over, signals a drastic change in your military might and your will, right? It demonstrates you do not have the fortitude and the will to stick out the fight. And because of that, what you're seeing is a downsizing in military budgets, a downsizing in investment of personnel, and a shrinking of personnel. And
it's definitely what we're seeing too.
This is the result of what you're seeing is the downsizing of a group because, we don't need that many Marines because we're not doing anything like that. Whatever their specific job is, we're not landing on beaches. We're not doing anything like that, so we don't need Marines. You're gonna see the same thing in the Army at some point, a downsizing, and then
probably in the other service areas either as well.
Yeah, well, especially with drones, you'll start seeing a downsize in the Air Force, right? But it's So you've
interesting.
You've demonstrated that you lack the will to fight. You started downsizing the military, and this is where you're at with it now. It goes in fluctuations, it depends on what happens. Like what really worries me is you start downsizing, especially on the Marines, and then you have this whole China and Taiwan thing going. Right, that's if that thing actually kicks off, then you're either gonna see America say, "Oh no, I'm scared, I ain't getting involved," or we have a serious lack of numbers all of a sudden. I don't know where that's going.
Interesting. We're gonna have to see where that goes to.
Kind of a scary situation there. But just to draw down a military is a scary situation either, because you saw the Russian video. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
I don't see them downsizing, and and it's a thing where at some point, where do your enemies decide that you don't have the numbers, you're weak enough, and you don't have the gumption to fight, and so we can start testing you, right? We can start pushing you. And then it's really hard to this is what we learned in World War II, and it's really hard to gear up to go. We learned it in Vietnam because you force people into the military that don't want to be there, and those people don't do well.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to be there. They don't do well. And so you reduce the volunteer army, and now you make it a mandatory because now you have to, because you downsized, and then you have a serious lack of training, a serious lack of skill, and a serious lack of professionalism.
Yeah. This brings in a thought that I don't know if you ever saw the Tomorrow War.
Yes, I did. Did watch
okay, that. So my son Mini G, he's really into guns and things. He likes that stuff, and I think it's really interesting. But we were watching that, and they start giving out all the weapons, right, to all the people who were like, "You're in it. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go." And my son, as we're watching it, he's like, "Oh, I feel sorry for that guy. That's not a very good gun that they gave him. He's most likely going to die." He's all like, he's going to have a rough time. And that's exactly what you're kind of saying, right? They're not trained. They're not thrown in there. They don't know. And you get what you get at that time. And so
I saw an article just the other day. It was in Mexico, I think it was like some kind of a tribal area or something in Mexico. I didn't get quite that, but basically the area or the town themselves were sending kids as young as like 8 or 9 out on armed patrols. They would give these
Oh, wow.
kids at like 8 or 9 wooden guns, right? And then when you were like
Muscle memory.
10 and older, right, you were getting a real gun. And
Yeah.
you were going out patrolling to help defend against the cartels.
Mm.
But it's just one of those things, right? You have an untrained set of kids out there. It's a scary thing when you have an untrained military and you ask people to go do stuff because now all of a sudden it's mandatory, right? It's just, that was one of the, like, I got out and I went into the National Guard. And then I was in the National Guard and I was looking around at these fat, old, untrained people, and I'm like, and then like stuff started kicking off, right? Because this is pre 9/11, but stuff started kicking off after 2000, and I was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm going to war with these people. That is not fucking happening.
That's not the way you want. Yeah.
So I got out. I moved to Belize and I got out of the National Guard. And then a year or two later, all these guys were getting deployed. And a lot of these guys didn't come back. I mean, they were sending National Guard folks over because they didn't have the numbers. And I'll tell you, there's a big difference from I'm an everyday soldier to I go once a weekend and twice 2 weeks in the summer. There's a big difference. I'm telling you that now. There's a big difference, and that it didn't go well for those guys at all. And then they kept sending them back and back and back, you know. But then by then they were like kind of full-time soldiers, so they got better. But initially it was not a good thing, dude. It was not. So I'm glad I exited out when I exited out. 'Cause that was scary.
Wow.
I was like, I am not going to war with this guy. There ain't no fucking way.
It comes down to that. You got to trust the guy who's next to you. You just didn't have that.
You do.
Yeah.
So happy Veterans Day. Hope you guys enjoyed this look at the U.S. military and the changing
Very interesting.
times. Hope you learned something. Go out and thank a veteran. And even if he tells you I didn't do it for your thanks, you know, it feels
Give
good.
him a
to
hug
be-
instead.
Feels,
Say, "Oh, okay."
feels good to be appreciated. I still, even now, I find these old guys with their like Navy hats, and you said what ship they were on, or these
Yeah.
guys. I always go up and just tell them thank you. I don't even tell them I served or anything. I just go up and say, hey, thank you for your service, because those old guys, they do very much appreciate it. Those guys went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we are down to very few World War II veterans nowadays. They are almost non-existent now. So.
Wow.
All right, everybody. Much love all. We'll catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share a comment. Help this video get seen. Go ahead and share it out. Much love all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Bye.